Hey y'all, what it do? You already know where we at. It's Thursday and y'all see me advertising, so y'all already know I'm excited. Y'all know I get excited when I get friends because I always think I'm talking to myself. So for me to have people on with me today, I'm excited. And we're closing out our Women's History Month. And with this series, Healthy Relationships, I don't know about y'all, but I've been really getting my whole life, and I hope that you guys have been enjoying it. I've had some amazing guests, and today is no less. And so I'm gonna give y'all a second to get on because you already know how it goes. So I'm gonna share too. Y'all know y'all gotta give me a second to share. So because I want to make sure everybody sees this, because I really think this is gonna be a great conversation. And I feel like you cannot talk about certain things enough. And y'all know how I feel about relationships and healthy relationships at that. So pulling it in, hold on. Please now listen, don't let me be the only one sharing. Y'all come in, say hi so I can know you're here. Number one. Number two, I need y'all to share too. I need y'all to not be, shy. Come on and share this thing as I'm sharing. Let's have a share party. Okay, and let's get it going. I used to be shy about asking y'all to share, but not anymore because I know this is gonna be good for anybody who watches. So all right, I think I got the sharing part going. Okay, I shared it to my page. Y'all, if y'all in here, come say hi to me. Hey, mom, how are you? Love you. My mom always be the first one in here. Hey, mom, I love that. Appreciate you. Um, yes, this is going to be a great conversation. Like I said, it's Women's History Month, and I'm about to bring my guest in. You already know they here on the backstage. I'm about to bring them in like Apollo. You know what I'm saying? And so I just want to give y'all a second to come in because I feel like y'all be like I'm just leaving y'all, and I'm not trying to leave y'all. That's not the goal. I want y'all to be. We all here. That's what we want. I hope y'all had a good week so far. I hope that it's been productive. Or if you're in a season of rest, I hope you've been resting. Listen, that's been a recent lesson for me. So I hope that you have been rested if that's what you're in. Whatever it is, I hope you've been obedient. Yeah. And I hope y'all are having a you know, we almost the end of the week, right? So we gotta bang it out here good. Okay, so I shared. Let's see who else. Is anybody else? I see y'all coming in. Y'all strolling in. Y'all strolling in like y'all come to the club late because y'all don't want to be the first ones there. That's how y'all doing. Don't do me like that, y'all. I want y'all to come in and go. Hey, Miss Astrid, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see people that love me. Okay. Well, I don't wait for everybody, so I'm gonna have to just go. So I don't know if you guys saw my advertisement or my post about what I was talking about today, but we've been in this. Well, let me just back up a little bit. I said we're Women's History Month. Last month we did one for the men, and this one I said, oh, we got to do something for the women. And what do women love the most? Relationships. I know y'all do. Y'all love them. You know why? Because we value relationships. We're in romantic relationships. We're in friendships, acquaintanceships. We are in business relationships, family relationships, all of it. So it's very important for us. And for me, we've been talking about healthy relationships and how it's so important to know what healthy relationships look like in all of those dynamics. So today, I definitely wanted to talk about. I think we covered everything else, and today we're covering the family relationship. So, like, I thought it was so cool for me to say it's a family affair because it is. It is. It's a family affair. Like, I just love it. I love it. So today, I know I normally have a guest on each week to talk about certain things, and this week I wanted to kind of do a roundtable. I just felt like just me talking to some people that are good friends of mine that I know we have good conversations because this is Conversations from Paris. But I just literally want us to talk about family dynamics and what healthy relationships look like. So I'm gonna introduce my guest to you today. Let's go. My first guest that I have. Wait, I don't think I do it that way. Okay, I'm a little crazy, y'all. Hold on, let me. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, my first guest I'm gonna bring in is a good friend of mine. We have recently become friends this year, but like they say, it don't take a long time for you to know people. So it's my sister. I can even call her that. Her name is Kiana. Come on, Miss K. I am in a group with her
Hello.
that she speaks so well, and we tackle things about all type of relationships, especially marriages. So I have her on here just because I know that she has a wealth of knowledge about different familiar relationships. So say hi to the people, girl.
Hello, my name is Kiana. Thank you, Paris, again for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to this awesome conversation.
Awesome. And then I'm about to bring on my other friend. Listen, so like I said, you meet some people and it's like the first time you meet them, you be like, wait a minute, them not peoples. That's how we roll. And when half of y'all, when y'all see her, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's her. Listen, this is the person, one of the people I first met when I came to my church, and she just opened her arms to me and was just so genuine, right? And just a really good person. She's so little seasoned my life just from being around me, and that's you can't ask for anything better. So I'm bringing on my friend Lexi. Come on, Lex.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
I'm so glad. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming. I definitely. Oh, and Lexi, I'm sorry. So I'm going to give at the end really let them give some information about who they are, because let me tell you, it's not limited. They have commas behind their name. Do you hear me? They have different things that they do. Trust me, they're all bosses. Okay, so I'm gonna let them give that information, how you can reach out to them at the end. But I just want this to be a conversation, kind of amongst friends, us talking about these things. So that's why I didn't go fully in there. So let's just kick it off. Like I said, this is not too formal. I definitely want everybody to come in and be a part of this conversation. So let's just kick it off here. I'm going to ask a question. We're just going to pull it out. Maybe Kiana, you can start.
Sure.
When you think about family relationships, some of the earliest relationships are the parent to child relationship. And then you have the sibling relationship. So coming up, what do you think you knew what was defined healthy, or do you know what you necessarily was shown? Give any ideas on it?
Yes, and I'm just gonna let y'all know in advance. I have my two babies here, and they have like a sixth sense. They know when I'm about to go live or get on the phone, and they just come out of the woodwork and just converge. But to answer your question, Paris, I did not know what it was like to be in a healthy home environment. I actually grew up in a very toxic home. My mom's first husband, he was physically abusive towards her, and they were together, I want to say 19 years. They were together since she was 14. So let me start back. I'm actually adopted. So I was adopted when I was 6 months. And so I kind of grew up, wonderful adopted family in terms of accepting me, but I still felt inadequate, right? Like, oh, my family didn't want me. And so I always had that kind of in the back of my mind. Anyway, so I had that going on, but then also, my mom being in a physically abusive marriage, having to watch that, and excuse me a second.
What she needs is important. Okay.
It is definitely. Listen, I need y'all to understand. We are on a couple of calls. Listen, I love it. I love the mother that says, this is important, but these kids important too. So listen, I always let her have her time. So I hope y'all gonna get the same grace, because it's important to hear what she got to say. But them babies.
Thank you. So yes, I had that going on, the feeling inadequate because I was adopted, feeling rejected, and then coming up in a family where it was very physically abusive, watching my mom be beat, covering herself up, her eyes up with makeup and lying to protect him. And so it was a lot. It was a very traumatic experience. She got remarried when I was, I want to say 9. And that environment was not physically abusive, but it was emotionally abusive. So we go from like one abusive environment to another abusive environment, really because she didn't really take the time to heal. And I'm speaking as an adult now. I didn't know that then. But yes, the environments that I came up in were very toxic. I didn't know what it meant to be in a healthy marriage. I didn't know what it meant to be parented and steward it in a healthy way. And so I've had a lot of learning to do as an adult, a lot of healing to do as well.
And you know what? I know Kiana's story. It's so much to it. It's just so much to even talk about. But I wanted to ask her that because while we're talking about healthy relationships, I think the one thing we need to understand is that most of us don't necessarily come from quote unquote healthy relationships, or we don't necessarily know what it means. And so that's why I'm asking these questions, not to let her tell her story, but more so to show us that you don't have to be ashamed of what you came from, or you don't have to think that you're by yourself in maybe not knowing, right? So Lexi, I want to ask you the same question. Like when you grew up, what was your family dynamic like? Or do you know that you knew what a relationship was? Or do you feel like you grew up in a healthy one?
Knowing now that I didn't, at the time, you think that this is just normal. When dysfunction becomes the norm, you just think it's normal. Your friends have dysfunctional families, but at the time you don't know it's dysfunctional. It's the norm. For me, I'm grateful to God that I didn't have to endure certain things, but the things that I did have to endure, it's mind blowing now as an adult walking and healing in these areas. My mom has always been in my life. My mom is she's one of the strongest people I know. But my mom growing up was a functional addict, and I thank God that she's definitely sober now. But my mom was a functional addict. She went to work every day. Every day. My mom went to work, but there were times where you know how you know something isn't right, but it's so the norm that you don't know anything else. To even go to the bathroom, I had to knock on the inside of my bedroom door just to come out because she never wanted to expose me to certain things. My father, who never denied me, never hit me, never anything negative in that, in that way, he was always in and out of jail. So that abandonment feeling like, well, I'm not enough for you to want to do better, like type of thing. I have siblings. I was raised an only child. I'm my mother's only. So, even with you being gone now, I don't have that connection with my siblings, it's all these different things. And my grandmother was not the nicest to me. Other people in my family have other things to say about it, but for very specific reasons, I had to endure things that other family members did not have to. And you think it's the norm, and it's not. And it's not until you explore life. I'm just a little Black girl from the west side of Chicago. All I knew was that, and let me tell you, college will open your eyes. The very first day, my mom and my youth pastor, who was my spiritual father, they drove me to school. I'll never forget that very first day they drove me to college, and I had a white roommate. Her parents are hanging her clothes up and they're helping her make her bed. And they dropped me off with garbage bags and said, all right, bye. And that's when I realized this is not normal. This is not the norm. I look like a motherless child in here, but it's things like that when life hit and you be like, whoa, this is not how this is supposed to go. I had to endure a lot of moving growing up. The stability in that area, it was shaky. And there were years I had to live with my grandmother, who wasn't the nicest to me. And she had her own dysfunction. And at the time, you don't know that as a child. You just know that you're mean and you're not mean to other people. So you're picking on me for a reason. And now I can say, okay, this part was dysfunctional. I can see what was dysfunctional now in my family dynamic, but I can also see where people are attempting to come out of their hurt to better the family. I can see even back then the people that wanted to do more to try to help me during that time. So yeah, when it comes to family, it's a lot of dynamics, but initially I can't say that I knew it was dysfunctional because it was so normal.
That's so good, Lexi. And again, I know some of your story too. So, I mean, you guys are picked purposely a little bit. But it's like I want to just get a lot of different people's aspects. And you guys in the comments put, whatever you want to share. You already know this is a safe place. So I'm going to be transparent a bit. I'm going to answer my own question. Do they have a healthy relationship with? Let me tell you something. I used to watch the Cosby Show. Okay. And I thought the Cosby Show was the example of what family dynamics should look like. And I don't know if that's right or wrong. As I'm older, I understand that there was TV, but I do believe, it's not the worst place to start, right? When you think of something being healthy. And I remember, first of all, I grew up with my mom and dad, both. And with my, I was the oldest of four. And you know what? My parents worked their butt off, to give me everything that they could give us. We were definitely not rich. We weren't on the street, but we were not rich. So, but my parents did everything they could to take care of us. And from what I know, everything was what family was, right? This is what family is. No, there was nobody beating my door down to get money. There wasn't on the street in a garbage bag. I heard about certain unfortunate situations that's happened, and I did not deal with certain things. But I don't know if I knew what, to me, healthy was me comparing it to the Cosby Show. And so, for what I believe, I had a happy childhood. I didn't think I wanted, and that's okay, but I felt like for the most part, I was loved. To me, it was healthy. And, I will say there were moments in time when I compared my life to what I perceived it was. I compared it and thought, you know what, that's not me. We don't have that. I remember a story when I was turning 6. Was it Women's Day? I still tell my mother laughs at me when I talk about it. Women's Day. My expectation is that she was going to take off work. We were going to go and we were going to celebrate this day because I'm a woman officially, right? And it didn't go quite like that. And I'm not saying she was completely. My mom was insensitive. I'm just saying. I remember having a whole, what I'm saying? It's etched in my head. So that's another thing too, is what you believe a healthy relationships are and what you don't. And the reason that we're talking about this, guys, y'all know me. I always bring up as an example. And I always tell us to be very transparent because we cannot get healed and whole until we get real.
Definitely.
We cannot until we are willing to turn that mirror to ourselves and be honest about the idea that, guess what? We all have had some level of dysfunction in our relationships on some level. I mean, and I think sometimes the hardest thing is that it's hard to admit that, right? It's almost like it's mutually exclusive. If I say my family loved me, but I can't say that I was hurt because that means that my family didn't love me. And that's not true.
Not true.
It's not true. Your family could love you and have given you everything you could, and you appreciate and honor them. And then you still can say, I didn't have some things I needed.
Most definitely.
And so I wanted you, first of all, let me go back, Kiana, what I said there, have you experienced the idea of that dynamic that as you are growing, as you are maturing, you started to realize, hey, this might have not been the healthiest thing. And as you're trying to address certain things within yourself or within your family, have you felt the dynamic of the, that stretch between, but they love me though, but I had rules.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that transformation really occurred once I was a parent too. And I realized I'm the same person I was the day before I gave birth. You know what I mean? And so you just kind of learn to give your parents grace and realize, I didn't stop having issues when I had kids. I didn't stop having fears. I didn't stop having trauma. I didn't stop having, issues inside of me that I needed healed, right? And so I operate in those things and I parent out of those things. And unless I take the time to address them, then I will continue to operate and parent out of those things. And so, definitely once I became a parent, I was like, oh, okay. You just learn to just really give your parents grace and realize that they were human beings, that they had trauma, that they had cycles in their families, that people had did things to them, you know what I mean, to impact them in certain ways. Also, when I met my birth family when I was 25. And I got an opportunity to meet my mom. My birth dad had passed away, unfortunately, but I met his family. I met my siblings. We're really close. I'm really close to my mom's side of the family. But when I kind of learned about their upbringing and their childhood, and I'm like, y'all didn't really have it too great either. You know what I mean? They went through a lot. They didn't have a lot of money. My birth mom actually was addicted at one time. And so I guess I grew up thinking like, oh, I just came from this great family and they're just like living it up. And, you know, they on the Cosby Show. And I'm like over here in this abusive home, you know what I mean? And then you kind of get older and wiser and ask questions. And you're like, oh, okay, there was a lot going on here too. And not to compare environments, but just to realize, you know, like you said, Paris, people give what they have. And I think that's why it's so important to that inner healing, whatever that means to you, whether it's counseling, whether it's through a relationship with God or both. Hopefully it's both. But to go through that healing process, because the fruit that we produce is going to be based on what's inside of us. And so I've really had to do a lot of work on myself. And along with healing, you also just learn to forgive. You learn to forgive as well. And I went through that process. God took me through a whole process where I had to write letters to people I had dishonored. And it was the hardest thing I ever had to do. I'm like crying. I'm like, but this person did this. He's like, write the letter. And so it was the hardest thing, but it was so liberating. So I would say healing, showing honor. You know, the Bible says that honor your father and your mother that your days might be long. He means that. You know what I mean? We owe our parents a certain amount of honor regardless of what shortcomings they had. So I would say healing. I would say just growth, maturity, and becoming a parent really helped me to see that the parents who grew up my family really gave me the best that they had, and that I love them for that. And I forgive them for the rest. Love them for what they have and forgive them for the things that they lacked.
That's so dope. That's so dope because you gave a whole y'all think that what she said was a couple of minutes, but she really piled it on in a very short amount of time. But like she said, you realize, especially, I mean, that's a similar story to me. Once you have kids, you really realize, oh, wow, okay, I'm still a person and I'm not Superman or Superwoman, and my parents were not either. And you give grace. And then also you realize that, like you said, what you do feel like you might have not had, you forgive for, and you still love them throughout it. So that was all on point, Kiana. I love that. Let's see, what do you have to say? How have you dealt with that idea of dealing with the fact that you come into the realization, maybe your life, like you said, you got to college and you realize, okay, this might not be normal. But then how do you deal with that relationship or that dynamic?
Kiana said it perfectly, to be honest. Once I realized that just like I went through certain things, every human being on the face of this earth went through certain things, right? So that means my mom has a story. My grandmother has a story. And it took me years to get to that place with my grandmother. With my mom, I learned to love my mom where she was. And I got reality checks. Claire Huxtable is fiction. So in my mind, that's not anybody's mom. I don't know to this day, one mom like that. And I know some really good moms. But once I got in my mind that this is fictional, this is fake, love your mother where she is. She's not going to be Claire Huxtable because Claire Huxtable doesn't exist. So once I realized, and, my mother, Casey, I call her mama, of course, but Casey has her own past. She has her own issues, her own vices. And until she wants to change something, she makes that decision. My mom made the decision to better her life. My mom made the decision, this is what I'm going to do to better my life so that I can live longer. And a lot of times we want to look at ourselves and say, well, aren't I your reason? You got to have your own reason. Like once I came to the knowledge that she had to do it for herself, not for me. She had to do it for herself. I don't have any children. So honestly, it took me a little longer to realize it. Even with my grandmother, for years, I was like so hurt and upset by the things that she would do. My grandmother said I wouldn't graduate after 8th grade. So every time I got a degree, I went straight to her house in my cap and gown with my little degree case. Every degree. Now, mind you, I got quite a few. But every time, I made sure to show her high school, associates, bachelor's, master's. Like, you're going to see all these degrees. You got to see certificates and everything to show you that I'm bigger than what you thought I was, that I was at that time. And, as children, you hear adults talking, and my family would be like, she didn't say that. I was there. I heard it. And you just didn't have that relationship. But as I grew, and I'm a historian, academically, I'm a historian. I have degrees in history. So when it comes to like looking into the history of my family, I started to dig. It became very important to me. And when I realized she has some skeletons in her closet too. And now I understand why she treats me this way, why she treated my mom this way. I get it now. Okay, now that I get it, I can look at you differently. And my grandmother, before she passed, she had a heart attack, a stroke, another heart attack. So she became physically unable to walk. Due to diabetes, she got gangrene in her leg, and her leg was amputated. So my aunt became her caregiver. When you're a caregiver, it's a lot. And when my aunt would need to, take a break, she would call me. And most people be like, but your grandma did this. I was extremely suicidal as a child living with my grandmother. And mainly because of the things she would say to me, do to me, like things like that. And not just her, I had other reasons, but I knew that the Lord wanted me here for a reason, because every attempt did not work. I mean, my grandmother was extremely sick, and I took like 50 something pills, and I never had to have my stomach pumped, nothing like that. All those years of all that trauma mentally, and word curses spoken to me and things like that, people in my family thought things were funny. Whole time I'm trying to kill myself. You know what I'm saying? The whole time trying to kill myself. So when I finally did get to go back to live with my mother, there was freedom in that. Most children just want to be with their parents, whether it's dysfunctional or not, to be honest. So once I got that opportunity, I embraced it. And like, I didn't grow up with a family in church or anything like that. I accepted Christ at 14. I started going to church on my own. Let me tell you, I was a teenager that didn't have a curfew because my mom knew I was at church. I became a church girl. So all that information that I learned from 14 to 18 about the Lord and just loving people, to go back to my story, when it came to my grandmother, like, the Lord really placed on my heart, there's things she's not free from. So charge it to her head, not a heart. So I started to, if my aunt needed me, I would go over there. The older I got, before my grandmother got really sick, she would always say, well, Alexis ain't been out here in 2 weeks. And I'm like, why would you even want me out there? Like, you didn't want me there when I was there. But you kill people with kindness, right? You kill them with kindness. That saying, I'm not going to have an attitude with you. I'm going to love on you. When I went natural, I remember when I first went natural and I came to my grandmother's, I believe, 80th birthday party, she cussed me out. And I'm just like, I'm here for you. Like, I'm here to love on you. Once I realized she has her own stuff going on up here and in her heart, I'm not going to let your words hit me like that anymore. So as time progressed, and she became, more ill, I started to ask her questions. Like, she couldn't speak very clearly, but she could shake her head. If she said yes, if she said no. The more I learned about her story with relationships with men and things like that, started talking to, my mom is the youngest of her children. Started talking to her older siblings and learning stories like, who is my mother's father? Who is it? you know? And when I sat down, I had a real talk, and one of my aunts were there. We were sitting down at the table, and I'm like, Grandma, I want my mom to get some form of freedom from this, because there's abandonment here. She doesn't even know, like, abandonment, rejection. She doesn't know who her father is. And whoever that man is, that's why my grandmother treated her the way she treated her and treated me the way she treated me. And I asked her, I don't know if you were sexually attacked. I don't know if it was just a man who you was with and left you. Whatever it is, was it your husband? She said, no. Was it this man? No. So it was the man. But that means that there was hurt and trauma in her life that she never overcame. And I remember saying, before she passed in her sleep. Before she passed, I don't want you to die with this on your heart. And I want my mom to have some form of freedom. So if you can give us a name, if you can give us initials, if you could give us something, but it was so traumatic, she couldn't give anything. I learned how to love her where she was. She's a human being. She had issues. When it comes to, I was just talking to my friend last night about this. When it comes to critiquing my family and things like that, I don't have a problem with that, because no one that walks this earth right now is perfect. My grandmother was not perfect. She had her skeletons. My mother is not perfect. I'm not perfect. My mom always told me that she chose to have me. My mom was 20 when she got pregnant. She chose to have me. And no matter what the struggle was, just know I chose to have you here. I made the decision, because, you know, when you're young and you get pregnant, the first thing you think is, okay, am I going to do this or am I have an abortion? One or the other, right? My mama chose to have me. And she always said, there's no book on how to raise a child, because every child is different. She said I didn't cry when I was like a little baby. I didn't cry a lot. So she thought I was broke. Like, you know, like something's wrong with this baby. But she tried her best. And that's what I had to realize. All of the quote unquote mistakes I felt like she made, she was just doing her best. She did not have help. Like I said, my father was in and out of jail. My mom was doing this on her own. She did not know what to do. She did not have a great relationship with her mother. My grandmother abused my mom, and everybody thought it was a joke. My grandmother would literally say, every time Casey came home from school, I used to whoop her, whether she got in a fight or not, because she probably wanted to. You know, just, you know, like she sent my mom to Mississippi when she was born. My mom didn't come back to Chicago until she was like 7, 8 years old. So it's things like that. Like learning these things, I realized that they have trauma. So I can't just be mad at them. Like my mom tried her best. My grandmother, they just didn't know. And to this day, my mom still apologizes for stuff. And I'm like, there's no need to. You didn't know. You can't teach me something you didn't know. So I learned to love my mom where she was. Even my dad, I learned to love my father where he is. And I'm just grateful to God that there were other men in my life. Even though they had flaws, I knew that they loved me and I was never, you know, sexually abused by them or any, you know, a lot of people have these stories and I'm grateful. My mom is a fighter. Like my mom will fight anybody. Like my mom is hood. I love my ghetto mama though. So whatever. But, you know, so like my stepfather, even though he had his vices and his struggles before he passed, I knew he loved me. He took care of me. He taught me how to drive. He taught me how to wash clothes. Like he literally taught me so much, you know. My spiritual father who passed last year, and I took really, really hard because that man taught me how to pray. That man taught me about God. Like he bought me my first Fred Hammond CD. Won't he do it? You know, things like that. So I may not have gotten everything from I would say my bio parents, but God found ways to fill certain voids in my life. And, you know, learning about God as a teenager, I was that teenager on fire. Okay. So I was in the church doing everything. And then I went to college. I had to learn like, okay, you got trauma too. So yeah, she may have said these things to make you feel this way. Okay. Love her where she is. And I truly believe me changing my mindset and God renewing my heart really changed the way my grandmother viewed me as I got older. Because, yeah, I heard you talking to the neighbors about me not, me being dumb and things like that. Well, now I have all these degrees. Type of thing. And people say stuff like that is fuel to your fire. Well, it made me suicidal. But once I started to not only love myself, love God and learn what love is, because a lot of times we look at stuff and we say, okay, did they really love me? They didn't know what love was. They're human. They're trying. They're learning too. So that's what it was for me, learning to love people where they were. It just blew my mind and it changed my life. It changed my life in the way that I view people.
Lexi, oh my God, listen, you got me over here in chills because the transparency of your story, I think it's going to heal a lot of people. You and Kiana both, because listen, what do we call about? We say that we have skeletons in the closet, or we keep these secrets, these deep secrets, and
Right.
everybody wants to save face about what they went through because they think that not telling the story. I've heard people say, oh, don't tell a family business, but I don't understand. I think we got to be careful not to tell people to not tell their story. If it's my story, I can tell my story, right? Just like you should have been able to tell yours. But unfortunately, we grew up, and a lot of times that was not something that was smiled on. That was a frown on. It was something that, it looked at as being a little secret. Like when people had children outside the relationship or something, like a little secret over to the side, you better shut up. And they didn't know somebody showed up at the funeral. You know what I'm saying? Or they, you found out somebody was, abusive and the family didn't know until something really bad happened. And it's traumatic. Mm-hmm. And so the reality of it is we definitely have to be able to have these conversations. Y'all know I really feel like a conversation, all it takes is to shift your perspective. And this whole series is about healthy relationships and just what it looks like to have been a real person growing up. And number one, nobody's family was perfect. Right. No matter how good you had it, nobody's family is perfect. And being okay with that. And also then the next part of it is understanding you're not perfect.
That's it.
To understand that no matter how many degrees you got, no matter how much Jesus you got, no matter how many friends you have, no matter how everybody in the family talks to you, you still have things you do bad, and you still have things that you need to work on. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you are human. And guess what? We are given another day to breathe, to get it right.
Yes.
And not actually getting stuck in the idea that, oh, not me, it couldn't happen. And being able to say, you know what, like this is what I wanted to do. I want y'all to have this, be able to listen to stuff like this and be able to say, you know what, I want to think back to a moment where somebody accused me of something. And I said, no, that's not me, because I was in defense mode. Yes. I can look back and say, wow, it's possible that could have been me. That's messed up. You know what? Well, I have time. I'm going to apologize about it. Yeah, it happened a year ago. But you know what? I don't believe in saying life is short. I don't believe in saying that. I like to say life is precious. So because life is precious and I value my relationships and I value my integrity. If I know something's wrong, even the Bible says that go back to your brother or sister, and if you have fought out with them and talk with them so you don't have that brewing thing, because a misunderstanding can cause estrangement. It can be the dividing factor. So I love that you ladies were vulnerable enough to share those stories. So I just want to be able to give, listen, y'all need to understand, we can talk forever. We already have 40 minutes. So I want to make sure I ask some specific questions for the people who are watching and the people that's going to watch a little later. And y'all, listen, just so you know, some of the comments are, hey ladies, great story, Alexis. love you, niece. That means we got people here that's, rooting for us while we're talking. But the one thing I wanted to ask both of you is somebody is listening and they feel like part of their family dynamic has been harsh and has impacted their story. And not even say impacted as past tense, currently impacting their story. What would you ladies both say was a first step to getting to a point where they start to heal, right? Just being able to do that. And I think I just want to ask that. I'll ask that. So Kiana first, what if somebody's watching and they say, wow, this is strong what they're going through. I too go through this, but I don't know I don't know where to go from there. It's hurt and it's impacting me.
Yeah. I think I started off by journaling, and I was someone who I was really private. I grew up, family just what happens in this house stays in this house type of mentality, and I didn't really feel comfortable sharing with people. Now I'm like open book. I'm like, what do you want to know? But I haven't always been like this, and so really journaling for me was a way for me to get in touch with my feelings and just realize it's okay to have these feelings. Because in addition to the violence I experienced, just feeling like I had to suppress my feelings all the time. In a physically abusive home, I couldn't show I was afraid, because he might come towards me, and then in the emotionally abusive home, just kind of being numb, just being numb all the time. And so, because that was the only way I could deal with it, being numb or just staying gone out the house. I used to be like a workaholic. Like I would work all these 3-4 jobs, take classes, all kind of things, just not to be home. And so journaling really made me like sit still and really get in touch with my feelings until I was ready to share with someone else. So eventually I went to counseling. Eventually I opened up to friends. Eventually I did all these other great things. But if you're not there yet and you're really, struggling with some of these things, journaling is a great way to start the healing process. A journal is like $1. You could just, a pen is $1 and you just start writing and no one has to see it. I have some journals. I don't even want to read it. I'm like, Lord, I'll read that in another 5 or 10 years, but just start writing and just get your feelings out. It really made a difference for me.
Thank you for that. Oh my God, I don't think we talk about journaling enough. I mean, it has become a thing that I didn't normally used to do, but I find so much freedom in that. Like you literally are kind of like pouring out it's like a brain dump. And I know it's very therapeutic. So y'all know I promote therapy on this show.
Yes.
Get y'all therapist.
Lifesaver.
Lifesaver. You hear me? Therapy literally listen, I'm about to start talking about therapy like people talk about Jordans. You better get you some therapy.
Right.
You're not hot unless you got some therapists. Who your therapist is? What your therapist name is? Like you need it's that much. I'm propping it up just that much because I think people it's still a stigma here about getting the help you need. And like she said, until you can get to therapy, for whatever reason, until you can, start to journal it, start to write it down. That is so therapeutic in itself. And it is definitely a way to help get some of that stuff out. So thank you for that, Ken. That was a perfect entryway until Lexi, you have any suggestions?
Honestly, I don't believe in being in an abusive relationship, no matter what the relationship is. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's your parents. And I say that with a very straight face. A lot of times the Bible tells us to honor our mother and father, right? Mm-hmm. It does not say deal with abuse. You can honor them by giving them space. You can honor them by honoring yourself and not enduring certain toxic relationships. And it's just the truth. You can love people and not have to be around them. And they can be your family. And I know that's hard for some people to hear because, people love to say your family is all you got. I believe that you can build family. I love my family. The Mayfields are my family. The Walkers, the Hargrove, these are the Robinsons. These are my family members. But if I didn't go to any of their house for the holidays, I got people that love me enough that I can go. You know, if you have any healthy relationships in your life, I don't see why that can not be your family. I don't think family is just a blood relation. I think it's when people say soulmates, I don't necessarily believe in soulmates as far as like a relationship, like a romantic relationship. I think that's very Hollywood, but I do believe in souls mating, if that makes sense. And I don't think that just has to be something romantic. My friends, like even you, Paris, I call you my sister friend. My best friend, I call my sister friend. My guys, my friend who I call her my god sister. Like, I do believe that you can build a healthy family, and it doesn't have and you can continue to pray for your family. You can continue to try to be that person to bring peace. But if it's not working, you can't change someone. And you learn to love them where they are. To go back to that phrase, love them where they are. You give them their space. One of the best things I ever did was move out my family's home and get my own space. Not because they did anything wrong to me, but you know, I needed my space or I was going to lose my mind. So in order for me to stay healthy, I'm going to distance myself in this way. So whenever my mom says something and I'm like, okay, now she's doing too much. Okay, I'm going to go in my car and go home. I'm going to give you your space, you know, type of thing. Or if I'm at a relative's house and an uncle or aunt, and this is just a scenario, says something to me. All right, well, I'm going to give you all your space. I love you. I don't have to endure abuse in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And I also, to add to that, I feel like sometimes because it's family, we feel like we have to divulge everything to family members. There are classes I've taken. There are things that I've done in life. I date men. Like, you know, my family don't have to know everything. They don't have to know my business. They know what I give.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I stay sane. I don't have to worry about your back talk. I don't have to worry. You do this? Oh, I wouldn't do that. You don't even know. You don't even know. So we don't have to have that unhealthy, that toxic conversation, because I learned everything doesn't have to be divulged to my family. And when I feel that I can tell you this, then I will. But when I say it, I know whatever rebuttal you got, I'm prepared for. And if I don't want to rebut, I can just walk out the door and not deal with a toxic relationship. And I think that's, to me, was freedom, realizing that I didn't have to deal with it.
That part, let me tell you something. I love that you said that, because what you basically summed up is boundaries. Y'all know it's my favorite word. Boundaries. I love that word. And people that don't know what boundaries is just being able to say, hey, I have a line. There's a line. There's a line that you can cross. And I don't stop loving you when you cross the line. I don't have to be combative when you cross the line. I just choose to say, this is my line. This is when enough is enough. And I can say, I don't have to, if it gets abusive, you know what? I love you, but I can put some distance between it. That is a protection thing. Like, if you know, you can only control you. So if you know that you're in an abusive household, or you're around an abusive family member, or you know that you are in a toxic form of communication. Because sometimes you don't necessarily, I've seen this too before. Sometimes it's like, not that you're toxic, your home is toxic, but you can even just be in combative, toxic, dysfunctional interactions due to situations. Maybe that person's, an addict. Maybe that person in that moment is depressed. Maybe that person just lost a job. Whatever. You don't know what it is that triggered them to teach you, but you don't have to be the subject of their abuse. And because, especially just because they're family. So what Lex was saying, not that I need to reestablish what you said, but the way I heard it too was that I love you, but my love language is actually putting up a boundary to protect me from maybe some behavior you don't even realize you're demonstrating. And until you can get the help, I'm gonna just stand back here and say, I still love you from over this fence.
Yes.
The fence is see-through. It's right there. I can see you. Hey, how you doing? I love you.
Paris,
I love you.
Can I say something really quick? I saw this post on social media today, and it was my life. Like, I never felt more understood until I read this. And the thing is, we don't know boundaries. So the post is, I often overplay my position in people's lives. I used to think it was because I was such a I had such a big giving heart, but now I'm understanding I lacked boundaries. I'm always going above and beyond for those I love, and when it's not returned, I find myself in my feelings. So a lot of times if you feel like your family is toxic and things like that, you probably lack boundaries. And because you feel like you're doing so much and they don't do anything for you. That was me. I felt like, oh, if my cousin called me, I'm going to bail cousins out of jail. Send me. My grandmother used to send, well, you know, he got to go to work on Monday. So you got to I got to go get him. But, you know, things like that. But I will go. And I will feel like I did so much. And then when I was in college and my mom go to family members to help pay for books, we get no money. And I'm like, but I'm not out here having babies. And no shade to anybody that did it. But I wasn't. I just didn't, I'm not in the streets. You know, I wasn't a hot girl. I was like a toasty. I was warm. But, I wasn't hot though. You know, I wasn't that popular. But, I wasn't doing all the things that people deem what society would deem fast or things like that. I wasn't doing anything. I was in school. I needed a book for history. Like I needed this, and I didn't get it. And I felt unloved and appreciated. That's because I lack boundaries. You can give one of the very best things I learned from church, and I thank Prophetess Gabby for this right now, was you can give an anointed no. Hallelujah. And I'll leave that.
Yes, I just want to piggyback off of that because I lack boundaries as well. I used to be a people pleaser, just because of abuse of violence and just feeling like I had to always walk this tightrope. You know what I mean, to keep myself safe. So it kind of turned me into being a people pleaser, and I would feel the same way. Like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Not even just for my family, then I got married. Okay, his family becomes your family, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm just doing all these things. And it was because of me, being a people pleaser, lacking boundaries, not saying no, saying yes when I really couldn't or when I was uncomfortable. And what really helped me to get through that was law school. Because I'm like, either I can study or I can do these things that's not going to get the grades that I need to get. And so my no game got really, really strong. When I was studying for the bar, my no game was really, really strong. And so when you find something that you want more than foolishness, that you really want, you'll find a way to say no. And you won't go back. You won't go back to how you were before.
Listen, and that's so real. The boundaries thing is a real thing. I lack boundaries for the longest time. I was a people pleaser too. And I equated doing things for people as a love language. Yeah. I love you, therefore I'm going to do it. You're my family, so of course I'm going to do it. And don't get me wrong, acts of service is love language, but I realized that if somebody help me out, that book Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud, I told you I was the bomb.
Love it.
It's a part he says in there. He said, if you say yes, but secretly resent the fact that you did something, then your yes was not real. And so you didn't have boundaries because you weren't strong enough to say no. And so you have to learn what that looks like and learn to be able. And at first, when you first do it, it doesn't feel good. And you think that you're betraying or you're not loyal to your family or your friends, whoever. But then you start to realize this is literally the same thing. You pour from a cup. You keep pouring from a cup and you empty it out, you're not going to be able to pour anything out because you're depleted. And you have to be able to say, you know what? I've got to a point now where I always leave something in my cup. I'm never, ever going to pour out of my cup so much where it's empty, because at that point, it's my responsibility. And I can't get mad at you because I did the thing I volunteered for because I thought I had to. That's just me not being strong enough and realizing that, I can say no. So I love Lexi. I love Kiana, what you said about the boundaries and understanding how important. I didn't even get into boundaries. Y'all know how much we can talk about with this family stuff. I love this. I'm going to just get a comment or two before we go. because it's almost an hour and I want to respect everybody's time. I'm just loving the conversation. I know everybody else is. Mama Pat put something up. She said, therapy is a great thing. We must be sure that we see the proper therapist. She had a very bad experience with one. And you know what? I'm glad you said that, Mama Pat, because I think that is a real thing. And people have those situations. However, what I want to say is I'm validating that happened to you, and that's horrible. But I think that we have to be careful, like you said, to choose the right one and not get so frustrated that we give up, right? You know, it's the same way of, this is going to sound real juvenile, but I'm going to just say it, okay? It's the same way when you trying to find some proper fitting clothes. I was going to say something else, but I think y'all women know what I'm talking about. When you try to find proper fitting clothes and you try it the first time, you're like, this is uncomfortable. You don't just say, I'm never going to wear these again. You go try some more on. You get, and I didn't know they had people specialists to help, but I just try some until I figured out I don't like this brand. It digs into my shoulders. I don't like this one. You continue to look because you realize you need that support. Look at Jesus. You need that support. Don't do that. That's by accident, y'all. I'm trying to tell y'all, I would be giving
right.
Yeah. And know what you're looking for.
Right.
I knew I wanted a Black woman. I don't want to say something and you not understand. I knew, and I always say, look at therapy like a therapist as a coat. Try on a different coat.
Right.
Just because you met with them once don't mean that's the person you got to stay with.
Right.
As long as they take your insurance or your money, that's all that matters.
Yeah, and also realizing somebody else said something too that was good. What's her name? Y'all help me out. She wrote a book. She's bipolar, the Black mother of Hollywood, Jennifer Lewis. Jennifer Lewis talked about bipolarism and therapy, and she talked about being in therapy for 14 years before she actually started getting healthy. And I was just like, how? But what she was trying to say is she had to commit. Just because she was going, she kind of owned her illness and didn't do any work on it. She just like, this is my illness, and I'm be cool, and that's just what it's gonna be. This is my person now. And she didn't do the work. And so she said she had all these therapists in mind. Like she said, I think I should have this. I could think. And she said she had the most unlikely candidate, this little older Asian lady that she's, I don't want to, and she said that was her 5th therapist. And she said she was just like, she said the first day she sat there and they looked at each other, and then she was talking dollars. And then she said at the end of the day, the lady sat there and she was just like, so are you done? And she was like, excuse me? She's like, are you done? And then she, well, what does that mean? She said, when you're done with this thing that you're doing, let me know, and then we can start the work. And she said, and she left. She said, but then she came back the next day and started the real work because of the decision that her life had to change. So, and she said she was so surprised that out of all the therapists she had, this lady that just didn't fit what her mind would want really transformed her life. So I also say what Lexi said, know what you want. Yeah, absolutely. You know what you want. But then also, if it's not, it might not be what you want. So if you get that bomb lady that you think is going to be, and it's not working out for you, don't give up. Realize it, just be open to the idea that, hey, it can come in many different ways. So I just know that I cannot go any deeper because y'all, we can know, I know, listen, I know how we talk, all of us. So we can go, first of all, I just want to say thank you again for both of y'all coming on. This is an amazing conversation. I really appreciate y'all coming on and talking with us and sharing some of your life. Final statement, just, a sentence or two, Kiana, that you want to say to the person that's listening that just wants to know what is my takeaway from talking about familiar family relationships.
Were you about to say familiar spirits?
No, I was going to say familiar relationships. I keep want to say that like I'm Spanish or something. I don't know.
No, that's okay. I just would want someone to know. I think, like we've been saying the last few minutes, do the work. Realize where you fit into the equation, because I think for so long I felt like a victim of my circumstances. Well, I couldn't control this, I couldn't control that. Okay, but I am responsible for my behavior. I am an adult. And so I think really taking the reins and being responsible for our healing and for our growth is so necessary. So do the work, make the steps. You may not be ready for therapy. You may not be ready to talk to a friend or whatever, but you can write it down. You can get a journal like I said, it costs $1, but just commit to something, commit to starting something, and stick with it, because it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen if you stick to it, the process, and be consistent.
Awesome. Lexi?
Learn to love people where they are. Learn to love yourself. Learn what love really is, so that when someone comes to you, I love you, but it's so toxic, you know that that's not really something you should bound yourself to. And I would also say, learn to, boundaries with your family, your parents. Some people find that hard, but learn boundaries, and I promise you will smile more. You would be more happy, like the joy that would come from that, giving an anointed no when it's authentic, and not feeling the need to always explain yourself, and letting it be what it is. There's so much freedom in that. I would say appreciate the healthy relationships. I think that's something I really wish we could have had time to touch on. The relationships you have in your life that are healthy, whether it's a friend relationship, a romantic relationship, you can build a family. You just know that you don't have to endure a toxic relationship, no matter where it comes from.
Okay, let me unmute first. So, Key, oh my God, you guys just brought a wealth of gems. I hope y'all caught them gems. They was just dropping them today, y'all. They was dropping, like, this is stuff that should be in a book or something. Like, they dropped some gems. So I appreciate you, ladies. And like I say, I want to go ahead and, Kiana, tell the people if they wanted to catch you, or what are you doing that you can people who are watching about that don't know you and want to know how you can help them.
Yeah, sure. And my kids are kind of running around now. They have like an hour max, and then they start. He turned all the lights off. I still got my ring light. But just briefly, I am an attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a business and civil rights attorney. So if you need help with your business, starting your business, making your business stronger, feel free to reach out to me. If you're experiencing any kind of civil injustices, feel free to reach out. If you're interested in doing that kind of work, as far as community organizing, reach out. And then I also have a ministry called Be a Good Thing. It's a ministry for wives. Well, it's for wives and for singles, but it's really about wholeness. I found myself getting married before I was whole, and it caused a whole lot of problems. And so we have a lot of women trying to, or really do get married without that wholeness first. And we can just kind of get lost in marriage and lost in a role and not really be authentic to ourselves. And so I've recently, gone through a whole healing process with myself, and God just continues to reveal more. So if you're interested in any of those resources, please feel free to send me a message or an email or something like that.
And I will put Kiana's information in here as well. I'll share it. Trust me, if you want to inbox me, I will hook you guys up, because she's powerful and she does so much more than that. But I'll let her put that for now. It relates to this conversation. Lexi, no, that's the least. And Lexi, what can they if people wanted to reach out to you, or what if you have anything that they can hear more from you about?
Yes, I am a certified life coach. I'm a mentor and a strategist. And the name of my brand is called The Essence of You. And you can also email me at theessenceofyou@gmail.com. I actually did a thing yesterday, and Paris, I didn't get to tell you all about it, but I've really been dabbling in graphic design, and I started an IG page with all of the designs I've been doing. So if that's something that you're in need of, you can go to Graphic Designs with Lexi on the Show on IG. That's a new thing, guys. So I'm still kind of a little nervous about that. But the essence of you is just as, learning more and about you, A lot of times we want to focus on everyone else, but learning more about yourself and coming to the realization about things about you is what I want to help people to dive into. And I also mentor. I love mentoring, whether they're young girls or adult women, it doesn't even matter. I'm a strategist as well. If you need help with developing plans for your business, that's something we can talk through as well. So feel free to contact me.
When I tell you these ladies have a plethora, that's my favorite word, a plethora of things that they add to the table. They just bosses in their own right. And they took a little time out to be with little old me to come talk about family relationships. Gotta say this right. And I'm so appreciative. I love you ladies to life.
Love you
So much for gracing me with your. I will put most of their information in the comments so that you guys, if you're catching the replay, you'll see it there. And if you miss someone away, contact me. I will put you in contact with these ladies. They are good friends. All right. So I'm just gonna sign off. Y'all know how I feel. Look at my shirt, baby. You are enough at all times. You to realize you are enough.
Amen.
Because you are enough to go ahead and work on these healthy relationships, because you don't understand how it affects every other relationship in your life. You don't even get how it's all interconnected in your very being. So put the work in, put the time, and you are worth it. I'm going to tell you till you really believe it. I'm going to tell you every single time you get tired of me and it's in your head and you singing, you are enough. You are enough. So I love you guys. Having a great weekend. Self-care, I say, do something nice for yourself, get some rest, or if you need to be productive, do something for yourself. Just do it for you, as a gift to you, okay? I love you guys. I will see you guys later. Bye.